Congratulations on the film. So much fun. I'm a huge fan of yours. You're going to be surprised when I tell you, what series you're a part of that I'm a huge fan of. But you've been a part of so many like big universes, MCU, DC, and now the Jurassic franchise. What did this role mean to you, and how does it differ from the rest?
Well, I guess it differs because it's, a film.
Hmm.
So the just the logistics of it was like completely different. Um, but I absolutely, I don't know how I got so lucky.
Hmm.
I've been so fortunate and blessed with my career and the roles I've been able to play, and this was just massive because even like those TV shows like that I've done in the past, like have an incredible franchise. I mean, sorry, fan base, but the franchise of Jurassic kind of extends beyond the fan base. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
it's just like it's more ubiquitous, and I just couldn't believe how fortunate I was to be able to play this role, and just the way it happened, it was so extraordinary.
Nice, nice. Now, like I said, I'm a huge fan of your character Frankie from Animal Kingdom, and there
Oh,
you
amazing.
there you stole things and sold them, and now you're smuggling things. Upon researching this role, was there anything that you found super interesting? With the whole process.
Oh yeah. I really wanted to ground her, so I because obviously, it's a world with dinosaurs, and it is a fantastical world, but I wanted to find a way, like, how did she get to do what she's doing? So I
Hmm.
decided that she was like from Siberia, and that her father was Russian and got to extraordinary wealth through the aluminum wars in Siberia, and her mother smuggled fossils, because there's actually a lot of fossils in Mongolia, and I think there's the fighting dinosaurs, which are two velociraptors, was also discovered in Mongolia. So I was like, I think the whole dinosaur thing came from her mother and her fossil smuggling days.
Hmm.
So it was really fun to like, even though none of that makes it into the movie, really, it was really fun to sort of read and research into like these little worlds that I'd never even thought about before. Like I didn't even realize fossil smuggling was a thing.
Yeah.
And so I wrote this very elaborate backstory, which I joke could be like a movie in and of itself. And that was really rewarding to be able to do that, even though it's sort of, like I said, not in the film. And then the bracelet that she's wearing, that was a really fun creative experience because after I read the script, I was like, oh, she doesn't have any pockets, but she has a phone and she has this remote. And I looked at the remote and I was like, I don't know, I think she has something cooler than that. And I was thinking about gadgets, and so before I met Colin, I did all these sketches of like, maybe it's a necklace, maybe it's a bracelet, and I designed this bracelet where like the remote like slides out, and I pitched it to him when I first met him in London, and he said, "Let me think about it. I like it, but let me think about it." And then, extraordinarily, he loved it after he spoke to Joanna and was like, "What do you think?" And so they built the bracelet. And it was just so amazing to work with someone who was so collaborative and actually liked one of my ideas.
Hmm.
So they scanned me and they 3D printed my arm in London, and they built the bracelet around the arm, which I wish I could have. I'm like, where has anyone got my plastic arm somewhere? I'm kind of curious to see that. So that creative process was fun, and Colin was really collaborative in terms of like, well, maybe her name could be from Siberia, like send me some names. And so I got to research that. In the end, I don't know if they could clear the one that he liked, but it was it was an amazing experience because it's very rare that you get to work on something that there's so many resources,
Yeah.
just endless amount of resources, and also meeting like going to London and meeting all these people who you've been watching since you were a kid, like grow up. I mean, it was just, I couldn't quite believe it. It was so surreal.
That's amazing. I mean, just by answering that question, you literally created a whole new, backstory and spinoff. Was there any talks to expand your story even more? I mean, there is the animated series, and it does tie in a lot to this movie for sure. Was there any talks to maybe you reprising a role in maybe that or a spinoff?
I would love that. And if you talk to Colin, you're welcome to pitch it because I think that Soyona has a lot of mileage in her in terms
Yeah.
of not just her character, but the world that was created within the film.
Hmm.
That, you know, obviously the whole Malta sequence and getting getting to Bison is like the movie, right? Like, but that little section, I think, really opens up a whole new world for the
Yeah.
Jurassic franchise. And I think it could be really fun. So if they want to do it, I am happy to oblige.
I mean, they do need a new villain for, if they do a next film, they do need another villain for the series, and I think you'd be perfect for it. Now, you were talking about the scenes in Malta, and it was a fun fight scene, and it was very intense and crazy. Was there a lot of training that went into it, and how did you prepare for that?
Yeah, well, when we got to London, we had the stunt team, get me ready for the fight. Took about like maybe 3, 4 hours a day for 3 days. And
Hmm.
then when we filmed it, I think we were going to do it in Malta, but then because of COVID, they actually built the set at Pinewood, like the inside.
Oh,
So we did the fight scene actually in Pinewood Studios, and it was really crazy because Colin wanted to do it in like one, make it look like it was in like one shot, and so the camera sort of like whipping back and forth between me and Bryce like across that room, and when she comes in, I call the dinosaur and then I throw a pot at her head,
yeah,
which the breaking of the pot is CGI, but then when they come back, they're like, well, where does the pot go? Like, because I can't obviously throw a pot at Bryce Dallas
yeah.
Howard. So I was like, what if I just, you know, throw the pot to like a prop guy, and then when you whip back to me, it'll be gone, out of the shot or whatever. So it was like, it was a very specific dance,
Hmm.
because the camera and everyone had to be like working in sync. And fortunately, I was good at throwing, and the pot never broke.
That's amazing. Now, you're saying that you got to work with Bryce. Was there anybody else in the movie that you wish you had more screen time with, or even had the opportunity to work with?
Basically everybody, but due to the circumstances, because we were living in the hotel bubble,
Yeah, yeah.
I got to spend so much time with everyone, and it was just this, it was obviously very fortunate, and we were very blessed to be able to continue working during a time like that.
Hmm.
um but to go down to breakfast or dinner and just see Jeff and his family and having it was so weird. Or like seeing Sam, disapprovingly read his newspaper. It was like, oh, morning, Sam's like, oh, it was so weird. It was like, oh, I forget working with them. Like, I'm living with these people and we're having dinners together and socializing and swimming and, working out in the gym together in
Yeah.
this like little world that we had to create to, keep pushing forward. So, in a way, I mean, of course, I would have loved to have worked with all of them, but in a way, I got really lucky, because I got to really know them as people and human beings, and
Hmm.
everyone was so kind. And I have to say, been in this business for a decent amount of time, to have that many actors living in one house and no one's a nasty person is
Hmm.
amazing. Like, to have a family vibe with no friction, it's
Yeah, yeah.
extraordinary.
Yeah. Now this franchise, it's going on maybe lasting for about 30 years now. Like I think 1993 when it first came out. Can you tell me about that feeling of like watching these stories like when they first came out and actually getting to be a part of them and like how it evolved? Like, can you tell me what that all meant to you as far as like you carrying on that legacy?
It was like a dream come true. I remember I went and saw that film with my mom and my dad and my cousin at the Hindley Street Theatre in Adelaide, and I'd never seen anything like it before in my life. Like I'm from Kathmandu, we didn't have electricity 3 days a week. Most of the people living around us were living like they lived 300 years ago,
Yeah,
at that
yeah.
time in the 80s in Nepal. So to see something, I mean, we didn't even have movies as a kid. Like, I think we just watched Superman, Supergirl, and Police Academy on repeat because in Nepal at the time you could only get your hands on like a few videos, and only when we had electricity, because we'd always save the generator for like heating up the hot water.
Yeah.
So it you know to to be in Adelaide after like really living until I was about 7 years old in Nepal, and seeing something like that was like a feeling that you can't quite describe. But even my dad, who he grew up in the West, he was blown away by it, and it like everyone always remembers, anyone in my generation at least, who was alive at the time when the first movie came out, remembers who they saw it with, where, and that feeling afterwards. And I'll always also remember when my daughter first saw the original. We were in a hotel room. She was 18 months old, and she by accident saw the scene where the lawyer gets eaten off the
Oh.
toilet. And she screamed, and I was like, oh my God, like we have to change the channel. But she turned to me and she said, again. And so we downloaded the movie, and she's seen it 100 times, and she was like singing the theme song, the John Williams theme to Jurassic, like every night in bed, in her
Mm-hmm.
crib. And then to get a role in a movie franchise that she absolutely adored, because obviously she saw all the ones after that too,
Yeah.
was like, I can't wait for her to see her mommy in this movie.
Nice, nice. Now the movie has definitely evolved from being, the dinosaurs being the hunters and being in control to now where now that they're living amongst the humans, they're in danger. Was that something that really intrigued you about the story that really like helped you gravitate towards the role?
um I think for me, and this might just sound like not so uh artsy, but I mean, I it wasn't so much that I gravitated towards a role as that I couldn't have been more excited to be included in this world.
Yeah, yeah,
It's so being an actor is obviously a really high risk
yeah,
vocation in terms of being able to work. And it's all, you're always, it doesn't matter how successful you are, or someone might see you as, or whatever, like you're always like hustling and hoping that you get the opportunity to be in something like this because of what it means to you as when you were a kid, or what it means to your kid, or what it means in terms of maybe what you'll be able to do because you were in a movie like this. You
yeah,
know what I mean?
yeah.
So for me, um, I I loved working on the character, and I really just focused on what her role was in the film and who she was and why she was there, because I
Mm-hmm.
just desperately wanted to, like, you know, be the best I could, and that's up to whoever to decide on a personal note. But for me, I wanted to give Colin like everything I had, because I wanted to do an amazing job, and I just felt so grateful that I got to be in this world.
You did. You did an amazing job. Amazing job. I'm really hoping that Colin like maybe decides to like add you as the new villain for the next one, or maybe we see you reprise your role in the animated series. Now, my last question, and I have to ask it because the season finale, the series finale is coming up. Is this the last we've seen of Frankie with the Cody boys?
Oh, well, I think there's a season out right now that's
Mm-hmm.
airing, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, no, Frankie doesn't come back, unfortunately. But
Oh,
if there's a spin-off
oh,
of Animal Kingdom, which you can always tweet or
yeah,
message
yeah.
John Wells about, because do you know what I have not really understood up until recently is how popular the show is. Like,
Yeah,
I walk around like I'm all over the world. I'm in Italy, I'm in London, I'm in New York, I'm in LA, I'm in Mississippi, I'm in Boston. There are so many Animal Kingdom fans out there. Not to say I'm surprised because I didn't think it was good. I just like, like, I didn't realize how many people had like responded to the show. It's amazing.
yeah,
I'm so happy for the boys and for John, and it's been an extraordinary series.
yeah.
But I guess when you're living in LA, you don't, because everyone's in the business, you don't really feel how it's impacted like outside of the Hollywood bubble, because everyone's sort of used to people walking around in the business, whereas when you go to other parts of America or the world, they're not used to it. So they're like, "Oh my God, what are you doing here?" But I'm so happy you love the show, and I will
Thank you.
say they're all the nicest, most kind. The boys are just wonderful, and yeah, their work is really really great. So I'm very lucky to have been a part of that.
Well, thank you so much for your time, and thank you so much for saying that. Like I said, huge fan, and congratulations on the film. And hopefully, I got two tweets to tweet out. I got gonna tweet out to Colin, get a little spinoff going, and maybe another spinoff for Animal Kingdom because I'm a huge fan. Thank you so much for your time.
Yeah, do it, please. Thank you. Take
Thank you.
care. Thank you
You too.
so much.